planning. But I can't stop her. Not alone.
Maeve. You came back from Maeve.
I've waited many years for you and Dolores and the others to arrive.
And who the fuck are you?
She has 5 more of your kind under her control. They have a head start, and I suspect they've taken full advantage of it.
Oh, they'd better have.
D. Davis Westworld Flip. We are back for episode 2 of season 3 to discuss the happenings of Dolores, Maeve, and Bernard, and also a new partner of ours, Sir Angarod Surak.
Oh, yeah.
Player. It's just smooth all over. I was like, if I woke up from an alternate world and I saw him, I'd be like, I may be in the right place here, man.
It's an all-white party?
Exactly. Like, and he put fine linens on me, I wouldn't be upset.
Where's my white linen at? Where's my white shoes?
Exactly. Sir Angarod, I feel that you've done well. So look, this was a heavy Maeve episode. Like, this is, the first episode.
And good guys.
Yeah, the first episode was definitely more of Dolores. Also, the gentleman from from Breaking Bad, and a little of Bernard kind of getting us up to date where they're at. But this one was about Maeve. Maeve, as we've talked about in the last episode, was in some type of war world. What is it? Some type of World War II. Seems like it's over in Europe. Definitely it's over in Europe.
It was in Italy.
That's what I thought initially. I said last week, I thought it was Italy that they were in.
Yeah, the name of the episode is called The Winter Line.
So Maeve, of course, as we know, wakes up and her partner, Hector, who helped when they were in Westworld, is there. And initially she thinks Hector is, sentient and he knows what's going on. But at the end, after their first run, she realized that he thinks she's another character. And I think the name either Isabel or Elizabeth. I think it's Isabel. And she starts to realize that, basically she can't count on him to get to where she wants to go. Mm-hmm. But then we come to find out from, my man, Lee Sizemore. And I knew watching it, I'm like, man, Lee Sizemore dead, man. This is a construct.
Yeah, we saw that at the end of season 2.
Yeah, it was like, he's like, man, I took 20 of them. He was like, Pop, I took 20 of them. Came right back and dropped the album.
Right.
So she realized that Lee Sizemore, because he was in there basically doting on her. Like, on his desk was pictures of her and a child. And she was like, nah, you can't be right. She realized that he is a construct. But what we come to realize, they're not like really in War World or any world. She is connected to a network, basically.
Yeah, like an alternate universe almost kind of thing.
Yeah, there's
simulation.
It's a simulation. It's a simulation. Yeah, and Maeve realizes how to basically freeze or crack the simulation or strain the simulation is a better way to phrase it, to where she can start to try to get through and figure out how to get out of the simulation. Yeah. I think my favorite part is Maeve's droid running up out of there, like Jim Brown. And just stiff arming cats. And I'm starting to wonder, I'm like, how many bullets can this Maeve bot take? It's breaking up breaking up the hill or whatever. Yeah. And man, I'll let you go to you, D. My only issue with this episode really was that with the randomness of just someone firing and shooting, no one shot Maeve's core in Maeve bot's hand. That was the only thing. Like, Maeve-bot was shot all the way up.
Yeah. I mean, that's
I'm just saying, a stray bullet. Yeah. I know, but I'm just saying, you at least had the Maeve-bot put it in some protective casing or something. So it can be. It's just the Maeve-bot purse. And Maeve called the robot a she too, so we're not being sexist by any means with this. Right. But what were some initial first thoughts?
Listen, first off, make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at D and Davis Show. I'm on Twitter, Demage1, IG Demage1, Ken's on Twitter and IG at That's Davis, and Ryan is the producer of The Flip, D and Davis Show, and now Westworld Flip. Make sure you follow Ryan on Twitter at Ryan B. Ski and on IG at Ryan B. Ski 1. It was a good episode. I'm always there for Thaddy Newton. I'm a huge fan of hers from going back years back. A lot of different roles. So I like the character Maeve, and I like what she brings to it.
Definitely.
It was a cool episode. It kind of threw me off too. They had me going a little bit. I'd say probably the first quarter of the episode. not even that first quarter, maybe like first 10 minutes of that episode when she was she first leading off from the extra credit scene from episode 1 going into episode 2. She wakes up in Italy with her like that, and she beating up the guys and whatever like that, and her and Hector go on a run, and then by the time they get to the plane, it was kind of cool that she figured it out because. And then when she woke up in the, I guess you want to call the host morgue, or where they kind of like fix them and put them back out there into the different worlds. I was thinking like, damn, they took away her superpowers.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, damn, okay, all right. So I wonder how they're going to work the character now because she doesn't have her powers. And she even said like, I can't control them. So she talked to the 2 guys that was, I forgot their names right now, the 2 guys that was a scientist that she had rolling with her through season 2, who worked in the labs per se. And they didn't act. At first, I thought they was kind of like, "Yeah, I ain't messing with you." Or, well, the first dude, the white guy, was kind of like put the clip up to his mouth, was like he was trying to call somebody. I'm like, damn, they snitching on him. I thought they was rolling with him.
But he was bad though. He would have done that even if he wasn't a construct. He wasn't really her partner. It was the Asian cat.
But she had about it. You know what's though?
Yeah. It was the Asian.
She was part of the team.
Asian fellow was on her side and was really trying to look out for her. The other dude was a bitch.
Yeah, he was. He definitely was.
I think it's Sylvester and Lutz.
There you go. Thank you, Ryan. Sylvester and Lutz. So I thought like, damn, they took her powers away. But then once she went back into the world and she started figuring everything out, I was like, oh. And then when Sizemore popped up, I'm like, well, yeah, he was dead. He got shot. What's going on here? So I think at least for me, I know we're gonna go into more details of and especially when Ryan can go into more details of the different scenes of some of our favorite parts. But that was the first part. I really like the way they kind of, at least for me, I don't know if I'm, saying the dumb of it, but I was kind of like, damn, what, it kind of threw me off with thinking like, damn, they took her powers away. Because you never know what's going to happen with the series. You don't know if that's really her. Come to find out, we can talk about this a little bit later on. It's not really her because she's in the simulation, but I thought that was still a body. So, no, it was cool. Overall, I liked it. I don't think it was good as the first weeks, for me at least. But I liked it, though. Ryan, what did you think?
Yeah, I was a big fan of the episode. I might have liked it better than last week's.
Yeah, I think I may like it better than next week, too. Because it gave, but I get what you're saying. It provided more information, but continue, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, going into it, I kind of had a feeling we were going to get this kind of episode. I was like thinking, clearly the battle lines have been drawn, where Dolores is bad, Bernard is good.
Is Dolores bad? That's you kind of got to remember. It's not a clear cut.
That's how it's been cut. That's how it's been cut so far presented.
Because she brought Bernard back for a reason.
Well, I got a thing on that later on.
Okay. Did you make this up? Because are we going to the internet yet? Because I don't want to go to. I want original thoughts.
I do have a couple things from the internet, but I will make sure to let you know which things are from the internet and which are all original.
Okay. All right.
Look at that ski thoughts.
I only want these ski thoughts.
If I do not preface it, then you are getting the original.
All right.
So going into it, I kind of felt like we were going to get one of these where it's going to be a focus on Dolores or it's going to be a focus on Bernard. And so we got the Bernard and the Maeve thing, and I'll just stick to the Maeve stuff since we've only really discussed that part of the episode.
Yeah.
And a few things jumped out. First thing, that supercomputer we've already met it kind of, because remember in the beginning of each episode it has the white background with the dark circle.
Yeah, great point.
Yeah.
That is the supercomputer, I think, because it always says Divergent too.
Yeah. You're right.
Which is what Serac is looking for when he talks to Maeve at the end. That he thought she was the divergent tip of the spear of all the problems for humanity coming down the road, until he finds out that she is an anomaly, but she's not the anomaly that he's looking for, which is actually Dolores.
And it seems like he implies she's not dangerous to man's existence too.
Yeah, he says that their goals or what they want align. Which he kind of left that very mysterious.
It seemed like he mentioned that he initially thought she was going to be the bane of man's existence, and then he realized that it was not her, and that's not, I guess, her quote unquote goal. Because I mean, if you really think about it, her goal was to really save her daughter and all those other people.
Yeah, she wasn't get her daughter.
Yeah, she wanted peace. I mean, she wanted peace for herself. Right. I guess I should self-control and peace for herself. But continue, Ryan.
And so, a couple things when I was looking on the internet that I'll point out right now that caught my eye that I thought were interesting. They said at the end of the episode, both Serac and Maeve are wearing white. And all we've seen Dolores is wear black, where they kind of wonder if that's good versus evil. And we've also seen Aaron Paul only in black.
Remember,
Does that mean he might be black?
Remember, she flipped to the gold dress.
No, but I'm saying we've basically only seen her in black. Like, she was just playing a character. When she's just dressing as herself, she's not a character, she's always in black. And that comes down later on the line, which we could talk about later, when Man in Black, is he evil? But then we see in the promo that he's dressed in white in the future episodes. So something to think about there. And then the other thing was the simulation. I guess in episode 1, because I didn't catch this until I saw this on the internet, in episode 1, when she was wearing that gold dress, Dolores, at that party, one of the friends of Liam comes over and says, imagine if something.
Yeah, we talked about it last week. In a simulation. He said, imagine if Westworld, that's a simulation, but we think
within
we're
a simulation.
World. But what if we are a simulation also, is what he was implying.
And he says it like the Inception thing, like, a dream within a dream, a simulation within a simulation, which was exactly what Maeve was in. She was in one of the Westworld parks, but it wasn't actually real. It was one of the fake ones. And then, of course, we saw the other little thing with the other park, Medieval. And I don't know if you guys caught this before. I think there's a fan theory that Game of Thrones is actually a part of Westworld.
Yeah, because of the dragon.
I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, the dragon or whatever. Come on. We know what that dragon is there for. And it wasn't the desolation of Smaug.
And then the one last thing that I saw on the internet that I thought was interesting, when they talked about Simon, Lee Sizemore, they mentioned, and I don't know if I fully understood what they were saying because I didn't quite see the scene like how they mentioned, but they say that basically he came back to life and posed as a host, right? Because he wasn't actually human, but the whole time he was a simulation. Yeah. So regardless of that, this is what they said. They thought that maybe this was an advancement on what Delos was doing at the end of season 2, where he was trying to get fidelity, that maybe they figured out how to put a human inside a host. And that's Simon, which then leads down the road to Man in Black later on.
I mean, because I think that's apparent. Like, we keep looking, and I don't mean us as us three, but we keep looking at where the ball is in the Monte, where they're shifting it, and we're not paying attention when they keep talking about proprietary assets. What the full gold is basically immortality. Yeah. That's what we bringing you in this park and we're collecting all this data on you, but they're trying to live forever. So I think that's
be able to sell you that option.
Yeah, I think that's what that's what the long game for Davos was, to offer people. Delos, thank you. To offer people immortality, and then I can't believe that part of Simon, even though he's probably a beta copy, a beta version of what they really look at it being in the long term.
And it was a simulation too, so
exactly,
it could be all fake anyways. But I don't know.
Yeah, but that's the goal. That's the I thought that we.
But of course, Westworld, they leave it kind of gray there, so that later on, it's kind of like when we start talking about Bernard with the Hemsworth brother. All of a sudden, he's just kind of like, he's been in this gray where we don't really know. And then the end of season 2, he's kind of like, he says he's a host, and now he's kind of this big host character. So it's like, I feel like they left that gray area with Simon on purpose so that later on they can point to it and be like, see, we showed you that.
I mean, it's a lot of different levels that you can go. That's why I think we all love the show. Everybody out here watching it. I was actually listening to another podcast. We were talking about just streaming, and they said HBO streaming. That obviously because everybody's in the house and everybody's quarantined or self-isolating. When they talk about how Westworld is like just killing the numbers and just pushing the strings up at HBO. So, but no, it has so many different levels. Like, I mean, I can't say we all thought that was kind of apparent, but still, though, you never know. They might throw a little switcheroo on you.
Yeah, they can throw it, but you kind of still get
and go another way.
Well, I guess this is the thing. I just try to apply logic into what a big company would want to try to do in the future. And if you're already entertaining people and giving them their fantasies, and that's kind of the little apple to get them to come in, like, here, we're giving you this. But our long-term goal was, one, to get all the information on you, but also what are we really trying to do? So this is one thing we talked about on the show that I mentioned before, that I thought Bernard was going back for Maeve, which we find out he was going back for Maeve.
Explain the Bernard part of the episode.
So Bernard ends up going back. He ends up finding, what's the name of the officer that was down there, the Hemsworth brothers?
Ashley, I forgot his last name. I'll get you that in a second. Ashley is his first name.
Okay, so he ends up finding Ashley. Find out all Ashley wants to do is kill himself.
Basically,
right?
That's what he was programmed to do.
Yeah, that's all he's like, man. Just let
the host alive, right?
Let me just put this pistol to my core unit. He reactivates him. He makes sure that he's operational. Then they go into whatever part of Westworld.
Ashley Stubbs.
Thank you, Ashley Stubbs.
Yes, Ashley Stubbs.
They go into Westworld, which you find out is basically defunct, but the workers that are working there are just working there until they get laid off. That's what Ashley tells Bernard. Bernard's go outside of finding Maeve. They do find Maeve's body in one of the coolers, but her core unit has been taken out the back of her head, so they don't know where she is. And at this point, they don't know anything about the simulations, so they wouldn't think to go to another area to find Maeve. All right. So Bernard, being as smart as Bernard, still thinks that perhaps Dolores put a bug in his system, and he knows that the tablet he built on the outside was corrupted from the fact that he built it. So that whatever Dolores put in him, it would still make sure that he couldn't find if he had a bug in him or not. So he goes and gets a tablet from there, since those tablets aren't corrupted, and he starts when he puts it into himself. He starts to have, he starts to go back to when he brought back Dolores brought back him, to when Trish shot him but we didn't get to the point where we really could find out what was the plan Dolores had to either sabotage him or why she brought him back. And while that was going on, Ashley was fighting the guards on the outside. He got shot. He was fine. And then he ends up finally, from what we talked about before, when Bernard can click in from his proxy or not, he clicks Bernard out and is like, we got to get our asses up out of here. All right. So that's basically the biggest part. And also just a little tidbit from the Bernard story. We come to see how other people talked about what took place as Westworld with Dolores' revolt, when the captain of the boat that Bernard was on going back to Westworld talked about how the seas were red with the blood from all the people that they killed, which really gives you really makes you just think about damn, they was really out here murdering for the seas to be that red or whatsoever.
Right.
So Bernard ends up, make a long story short, him and Ashley don't find Maeve. They don't know that Maeve is still somewhere. And they didn't know when Maeve tried, we talked earlier about Maevebot taking Maeve's core and running out. Also, the Maevebot thing, Maeve found out how to get through from the construct to get out. And she instructed the bot to grab it and to haul ass up out of there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to mention that scene alone, that the walk up to that scene and how she kind of figured it out.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to kind of go back.
Pretty badass.
Just this simple fact of how when she first found out, man, I don't think we are, so I don't think this is going on. Well, it's not happening the way I think it's happening. Let me try to figure out. And the way she was able to break it down methodically, bring Sizemore along, and it's yeah, you're not real. Yeah, answer this question. Try to have these workers ask this question, and she's rolling around in the scene when she threw the sculpture and it just froze there. She's like, okay, I got this. So that was kind of cool. And then when we went back to Italy into the war world. War
world.
Yeah, how she threw in all the different letters and kind of threw off the simulation, because what she knew was if she threw off the system, she be able to figure out where I'm at. And remember before, like I said, I thought that she kind of lost her superpowers in a sense, but I think this episode really showed how intelligent Maeve had become.
I don't think she lost her superpowers either.
No. I don't think she has.
Yeah,
either.
I think
I'm just talking about in
the construct.
World, in the construct, she did.
But she always was that smart.
She was, but it just kind of shows you even more how smart she is. Simon wanted to kind of figure out, okay, how smart are you? So let me throw you in here and let me just kind of see if you can figure out this program. And sure.
Well, no, that's not what Simon was. That's not what Simon was doing.
I thought
Simon didn't know he was in a program. Simon thought
he was trying to get.
Yeah, you talking about
Sirach.
Sirach.
No, but that wasn't even what Sirach was.
That's not what Sirach was trying to do either.
I thought he wanted to try to see exactly how smart she was.
No, he was trying to see if she was evil and the cause of the disruption. Yeah,
and to get coordinates to the forge.
Yeah, that was
where he put Dolores's information. because
Yeah.
Dolores is the one that put the information out there,
Right.
and he thought Maeve was the one that did it all. So if he thinks that's the one, he set up the simulation to get her to give him
That's
the coordinates,
Mhm.
but he figures out she's the anomaly. That's not the problem.
Because she said when they got to the forge, I had never been here before. Like, I didn't send that out. I don't know what's happening. And that's when you see the Sizemore host kind of start glitching. I believe that's the part when you start kind of glitching. And then you kind of see everything kind of like dissolving around.
That's when she really figures it out.
It's like, oh, okay. So that's why I said, that's why I really like this episode. I mean, we already knew, as Ken said, that she was already highly intelligent. But even with this, it just showed us how more intelligent she is.
What she showed to me in the intelligence aspect was really how more advanced all of those constructs are supposed to be than the humans, especially when she starts to talk about the code and how they just copied the code and how they were being lazy. And that's how she broke back into the system. And that was like, again, props to her, but it just goes to show like these, like playing God, you built something that's so far superb and beyond even what you are as far as what the humans are doing, and can just pick up on the simple aspects and mistakes that you also do. But it was pretty early. I feel like when I was like, yeah, I think she isn't in her body. Like, it was like, I think I want to say before the everything around Lee Sizemore started to fade or glitch around or whatever, I kind of was like, you know what, she's in some type of simulation. You know what I'm saying? Because again, just wondering how everything is and then why. And again, like we just said, none of us believed that Sizemore was really who he promised to be.
Right.
Let me see it. And something that I brought up.
And Ken.
Yeah. What?
I guess to bring back, if you want that thought about the balance between Bernard and Dolores, I was really thinking about that a lot at the end of this episode, seeing as how Maeve is she's looking like going to be the warrior to take down Dolores if the humans have any chance to survive, kind of thing. And Bernard's supposed to be kind of her check. And I was wondering, like, with the show, because it just seems so Westworldian, where it's all about, like, the greater goal and the greater desire. Everybody's motivated by a bottom line kind of scenario. Like, Serac only cares about the future, and that's it. And he'll sacrifice everything for the future. Dolores wants the hosts to be the gods of the world, and that's her bottom line. Maeve has her bottom line that I think we don't quite know yet, and that's why Serac said, this is why our goals align and we should be on the same team. Bernard, his goal is to kind of save humanity, but he had a chance already to destroy Dolores, and he couldn't do it. He had a deeper desire to have the host live. And I kept thinking about that. Like, what if Dolores put Bernard there as a check to him in a point in time where she was rationally thinking, before it comes to a bottom line where, hey, I got Serac, I got Maeve, all up my ass. I need to do whatever it takes to take down the humans and make the hosts the gods, where she won't even care about that checker balance anymore. She has a deeper desire to do what she wants to do. And will Bernard be the check, or does he have a deeper desire to not bring pain to the host? Because we know that he's Arnold, technically. Arnold wanted the host to live.
Right.
I think, this is the thing. I think with all three of, we're talking about Bernard, Dolores, and Maeve, I think they can all, at some point during this season and next season, be interchangeable as far as who is looked at as, I don't want to use the word the villain, but the villain and the good guy.
I agree.
I think that's what, because, Serac is going to sit there and clearly this is early. He's going to get Maeve to go out there, right? And whatever he just said that, our needs align, basically, or our motives are aligned. That initially is going to get Maeve to go out there. But what happened when Maeve starts to go out there and she starts to see the world? What happened when she talks to Dolores, and if Dolores can convince her, like, hey, this, and that may not be that, but I think all of them
are going to meet each other.
Yeah, they are. I think all of them can be moved around in what their motivations are. I think you're on point as far as what Arnold really wanted, but even this. What if we find out that, and maybe it's not Arnold, maybe it's Serac, it's going to be somebody else that had something to do with this company that we didn't know about. That's kind of the thing that always, like, how many layers is it to this company? What if someone's major goal is for both to live simpatico? You know what I'm saying? Like, and again, it still goes to the point that if you can take a human consciousness, it kind of goes, listen, it's like altered carbon, basically. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you can sit there and take someone's consciousness and put them in a semi-indestructible, but even as destructible as a replaceable shell, and this person can live forever, you know, these two things can be combined for one. Now, the unfortunate part would be that these droids or whatever don't have their own, they wouldn't have their own emotions and feelings. It'd be someone else's if that was to come together. But still, getting back to the initially when we're talking about the three droid or however the synthetics we want to call them, I think still that they're going to move around because it's still very interesting that basically Bernard could have killed Dolores when he had the chance and didn't. And then Dolores brought Bernard back, but yet they're supposed to be enemies. You know what I'm saying? Go ahead.
How about this? How do we not know that Dolores still has ultimate control over Bernard? Because, like as you said before,
that's what Bernard's searching for. Yeah. That's what Bernard is looking for.
Right. So all this things that he's doing, it's all coming playing by her. Hey, you know what? Maeve, yeah, she a badass. Maybe I need to go ahead and try to get on my team. Hey, Bernard, yeah, I'm gonna tell you, you're kind of like my check, but honestly, you work for me.
Could be possible.
Because the whole thing about him being able to go into his hard drive and sit by himself, all that could have been set up by her. Because listen, when season 2 ended, she was in Charlotte's body. Then it went back. Then she made it to the mainland. She made a new Dolores body. Kept the Charlotte body. Put a host of her. We don't know who's actually in Charlotte just yet. But and then she had Bernard. But like I said, she could have as Stubbs had a job that Arnold gave him, not Arnold, Ford gave Stubbs a job, like, hey, when everything is done, go ahead and kill yourself. How do we not know that Dolores, like, hey, go ahead and do this, and then when it's all over, you kill yourself? You know, that's what I'm saying. As we already so many layers.
To kind of go back with you, how you're saying there's a missing, higher up in the Westworld.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think Man in Black's role is? Because he's about to come into the fray. He's part of Delos. He's part of that group like you're talking about. We don't even know if he's a host or a human anymore.
I think he's a host.
Yeah,
and Dolores and him apparently, that's how it seems. And apparently they team up a little bit, it seems like, from the promo. What kind of role do you think he's going to play?
Well, I mean, listen, if we're talking about his teaming up, it's probably he realizes, one, he could be a droid, but he also could just be someone that realizes the things that he did when it comes to having his brother-in-law messed up like that, taking over that family, torturing his wife with just his dishonesty and what he was doing in the park.
Killing his daughter.
That was genuinely him. He may just be like, forget the world himself. You know, I'm with you. I think he's a droid, but I still think there may be part of him that realizes that all of this needs to come down too. So we have to sit there and find out. I mean, that's one of the questions. I mean, is he alive? This is one thing too. I want to put this out there real quick.
Yeah.
That we haven't seen this episode, and I'm watching it and I'm like, wait, because when Bernard got to the island and he went to go see Maeve and Maeve wasn't there. And one of the things I thought to myself is like, you got to remember this is Westworld and things aren't linear. Right, like most of Westworld has it took us like a half a season after the first to realize, like, wait, all this stuff isn't linear. Like I did before it became apparent. The Man in Black was young William or Billy or whatever. I was like, wait, that's the Man in Black probably from what Dolores was going through or whatever. And so I wonder, just to say this, I wonder was Bernard actually there when this was actually happening to Maeve? Like at this particular moment, because it really doesn't. It doesn't matter.
That's a good question.
But he really didn't have to be there. Like he could have been there a month ago or a month after because he saw she wasn't inside of her body. She was whatever was going through the construct. So that's one thing that I'm like, remember with Westworld, it's not linear.
You know what? That would probably be that's a great point. That would probably be the one in the sense kind of storyline that's not linear.
Mm-hmm.
I think now we know, or maybe this episode just kind of like bring everything together. Who knows? Because now you have Maeve when she woke up and she was in a white dress and she was at what was this guy's name again? I'm sorry, I keep blanking. Sirach.
Like the alcohol.
Like the alcohol. There you go. I was just thinking about that. I just think it did it. All right. So when she woke up,
Angerod Sirach.
Angerod Sirach. There you go. Mm-hmm. Not Diddy Sirach. Angerod.
Not Diddy. Angerod.
So when she woke up there, that could have been like a jump in time. You know what I'm saying? Maybe now she's linear to where Bernard is at. You know, so
that's what
go into a few episodes.
Exactly. I mean, we kind of know that probably Dolores and Bernard are these timelines are close to each other. I want to say the same time, but they're close. But with Maeve being in Construct, and still on World, not World, but Westworld. We don't know. You don't necessarily know, and that's been like. I guess that'll be the key. Now that they're all supposed to be in the real world, how do they play the non-linear part? How they used to jump around through different storylines, through time, and things that was going to happen. Because that was the crux of this show. Basically, you didn't know where you were at half the time.
True. And now everybody's on a mainland, and I think they are supposed to be in Los Angeles.
Yeah, well, that's definitely where that young man took Dolores to when they flew out there. Okay. They were in Los Angeles when they went out there.
I have a question for you two. So we know Serac had Maeve's host. They had to look her brain in a sense, but there is no
the pearl.
Yeah. We haven't figured out exactly when that was taken, right?
No. We don't.
So that could be an episode itself.
Definitely. Definitely.
How Serac, how you a part of this whole story? Let's do a backstory on you.
It will be. I think we're going to find out who opened up the back of her head. When they opened up the back of her head, I would perhaps think maybe, but maybe it's not. It may not be important to the storyline, but still, I think we're still going to find out stuff about Serac. I mean, that's what this show really always is backstories, basically. The show, to let us know people's motivations for what they're trying to do in the present.
By the way, did you guys catch the, I think, Jurassic Park Easter egg, too? Because Michael Crichton, who wrote Jurassic Park, wrote Westworld as well.
Yeah.
In that Game of Thrones cameo scene, the Easter egg, I think the other one, DB or Dave, whichever one, was saying how he's going to cut up that dragon and move it to an underground operation off an island in Costa Rica.
Yeah.
That made me think of Jurassic Park.
No, you know what? No, I was reading somewhere that they actually kind of thinking about bringing all those properties under one umbrella. So I think Michael Crichton. I mean, you have HBO has Jurassic, has Westworld. Jurassic Park is its own thing, obviously, and then you have. But Game of Thrones is with HBO. So I had sent out a tweet, kind of like when that happened, I was like, "Whoa, okay, this is kind of cool, little shared universe." So it'd be kind of interesting they do kind of bring all that together in some kind of way, because that's the new thing for the past. I ain't gonna say new. Everybody
HBO's just got to buy Jurassic Park.
Basically, and they no telling that they might do that. You never know, they might come out with a Jurassic World series for HBO. Who knows? But they want to try to have a shared universe. A lot of different properties, a lot of different companies want to have their properties live in kind of like one world. So. But no, I think that was very cool how they kind of tied all that in together. It was funny. It was kind of like, whoa. And you see, what was the dragon name? Dragon.
Dragon.
Okay.
Or Drogon.
Drogon. Right. I'm thinking about the rapper Dragon. You had him in there. So no, that was really cool. I like that part of it. Kind of give you like a little levity to the episode. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a lot going on right there, and it's kind of like a one little break. If you do pick up on it and you do know who those guys were and what was happening, that was kind of fun.
All right, real quick, your thoughts on the upcoming episodes. Mine's first was that Charlotte has a kid. She was stroking hard in season 1 or 2. I didn't know she was out here with a whole child. So
no. That's not her kid. There's something for the internet. I think that's supposed to be Arnold's kid, the one that died. Yeah, really? I saw that on the net. Yeah, I saw that on the net.
Okay. But why? Well, I guess.
I don't know. I have no idea.
Okay.
That's what I saw. I
thought she said something to the effect of mom or something like that. I thought that was mentioned, but still, she could have taken his kid in and he could be calling the mom.
I don't know.
Or whatever.
Maybe that kid is a host too. Who knows?
It wasn't.
Five hosts was taking off the Westworld. We don't know who all 5 are.
Well, no, I don't believe that, because what they tried to show us in the back narrative was that Dolores was trying to tell her how to act like Charlotte. So I thought that was probably the kid's probably one of those people that knows that that's not my mama. I would think like something's not right with you. I think.
Right.
All right, D, close us out.
All right, hey, thanks for listening. Make sure you follow us on iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Music, Stitcher, TuneIn app, World on Anchor, all the podcast platforms. Simply search for The D and Davis Show and D and Davis The Flip. I'm on Twitter at Demons1, IG, same thing. Ken, that's Davis, IG and Twitter. Brian B. Ski, Twitter, Brian B. Ski 1 on Instagram.
We'll be back with The Flip, and don't do anything stupid before you hear from us again.
Wash your hands, keep your hands to yourself.